urban style individual.
What's up with y'all? Hopefully this video finds you in good spirits, and if not, well, at least you not DSP. And today I got something a little bit different for y'all. The story of Jaha and Phil. Now, we all heard the tale that went down many moons ago, but the guys at That Being Said podcast have a clip channel called That Being Clipped, and they uploaded an interview that they did with Jaha. And while watching this interview, the only thing I could think about was the old saying that a coward dies 1,000 deaths. Why? Because they're constantly living in a state of fear, paranoia, and worried about what's going to happen to them next. And in my opinion, if you're walking around acting like that, scared of your own damn shadow, you're pretty much dead anyway. So let's get into it.
So you guys ready for me to kick off the lore? I want to try to keep it in a chronological order. So we had our first incident, right? We talked about that.
Yeah.
And now I'm fast forwarding to 2006. And I don't know, were you guys aware of DSP versus Viscant, that whole thing that I shared with you?
We want to hear that again for sure. So,
okay,
yeah.
So if you look up DSP versus Viscant, and it'll show you a Reddit link, and it'll be Viscant explaining that. But these two guys, long story short, we're talking shit. DSP always talking shit. So Jay's like, hey, you want to go? Let's go. Like I may look like, and if you guys know Viscant, like he's famous for the versus LTG thing, right? So you know how he looks or whatever, Shout out to Jay Snyder, Viscant. But, Viscant, he knows how to fight, like he practices martial arts. And
side note, don't ever look at a man or an adversary and think on visuals alone that you can somehow overcome him. You don't know what people got going on or how they were raised. Don't be the one.
This and that. So he was like, all right, let's go. So they plan it out, and they talk about, getting a ring, and, Phil's talking about, having like a medic there and all these other terms, this and that. And, when it starts getting down to close to that time, then Phil private messages Jay and says, hey, man, so yeah, when, we have everybody there and we're about to fight or whatever, let's just do like a DX crotch chop and all laugh at everybody, like, hey, we fooled you.
You see how Phil kept on trying to apply pressure and upping the ante. We need a medic. We need this. We need that. That was Phil's failed attempt at trying to psych this guy out, but it had the opposite reaction. The guy actually leaned further into what was going on, which Phil obviously was not anticipating. So then he went to his old bag of tricks of acting like, oh, it's just a joke and everybody's just playing. Nah, Phil, everybody not playing with you. And that's another point that needs to be made. Everybody is not playing. You can control what you do, but you cannot control how people respond to it.
And Jay was upset. He was like, dude, I really wanted to like fuck you up and fight, dude. Like now you're telling me you want to do some like troll joke or whatever. So he blows it off.
Yeah.
He blows it off. And I guess everything's squashed. So they talk casually again. And the next year comes around, and there's the Evo East, there's the Evo West, and then there's a main Evo in Vegas. And the Evo West, he wanted to come out to San Diego. And he said he was broke, right? So he wanted to stay with Viscant. So Viscant let him stay with them. But prior to that, sorry for the chronological order, a lot of this stuff I had to recall for you guys. So before that was the incident where DSP went on IRC and was talking all this shit to Mike Watson, calling him a fat ass and washed up and everything, a whole bunch of stuff that you wouldn't say to Mike Watson's face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Mike Watson, like DSP said, DMs him and say, hey, when I see you, I'll fuck you up, bro. Like,
now, if you're paying attention, that's two different individuals at two different settings, two different, entirely different scenarios. And the common denominator here is Phil, which means what? He did not learn his lesson from the first time.
That's it. You know what I mean? You're done. So, and Mike Watson's like my best friend, you know what I mean? So, he lets me and all the boys know. I'm like, all right, let's go, man. It's on. So DSP is staying at Viscant's house. And there was one night we were staying in a hotel San Diego. Mike was like, yo, I'll be back. I'm like, where you going, Mike? And it's like, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. All right. I guess he didn't want to bring us, whatever. He went to Viscant's house, and then he asked Jay, he's like, hey, is that fucker, is he there? He's there, because he wanted to like, he's ready to go. He was hunting him. He was like, bro, he was about to whoop his ass at his house. And
Didn't I just say everybody not playing? Now the other guy showed Phil grace. But for some people, when you cross the line has been crossed, and the only recourse for them is to push you back across that line with physicality. That's it. For some people, if you go too far, talking is no longer part of the equation. That's no longer an option that you can opt into. You got to catch these hands. It just is what it is.
And, you know, Mike was like, all right, I don't want to disrespect your house. But Jay was like, hey, he's going to be at Evo West all weekend. Catch him over there. We're like, all right, bet. So now you got to remember, this was taking place at Comic-Con, right? So yeah. Comic-Con, you know, it's a huge place, all these vendors, all these booths. And then when you go in like the back, one of the doors, there's a room, an empty room. And then in that room, they had all the arcades, all the consoles set up and everything. And that's where the Evo West was going on.
And I guarantee you, the big crowds and everybody being there was what DSP was banking on, because he knew nothing really was going to go down in that type of setting. All of us went to school with a person or was on a team with somebody who ran their mouth all the time in certain settings. But when it was the setting change, all of a sudden they quiet as a damn church mouse.
Now, we didn't want to ruin the Evo event, and we didn't want to do anything at Comic-Con because, you know, respect for the event. Number one. Number two is, like, if you fight in a club, you know, you might get like one punch off, fight gets broken up by security, that's it. Yeah. We really wanted to do damage. Like, yo, we want to catch this guy where we're going to, you know, hospitalize him. You know?
Forgive me for laughing, man. I got a dark sense of humor. But these dudes were so upset that they were really planning on changing the course of Phil's life. I mean, this was really going to be a crossroads moment here.
You know what I mean? Like, make him bleed, like, for the shit that he was talking. We don't want just like one punch broken up type shit. Yeah. That's the way we were. And so so we see him at the tournament, you know, we're stalking him and everything. That year, I think it was 2006, 300, the movie was big. They were promoting the DVD, so they were handing out all these the circular cardboard shields. Everybody's walking around with a 300 shield on their arm, this and that. I see Phil, and then I got my shield on. I say, "This is Sparta!" And then I charging star him with the fucking shield, boom, right into his fucking back. And then, you know, he goes to the floor and he starts like rolling around or whatever, like kind of overacted like a soccer player. So I think after that, he runs to the Cannon Brothers like, "Hey, did you see that? Did you see that?"
I have to be real. This is the part that I entirely disagree with. If you're going to confront a man, confront him eyeball to eyeball, look him in the face, and then y'all can handle whatever y'all need to handle, especially for somebody like a DarkSydePhil. You don't have to roll up on him and steal on him from behind or sneak this. You don't have to do any of that when it comes to Phil. But the other part about this that's interesting to me is, did he say that Phil ran to the Cannon Brothers, the same Cannon Brothers that he's been dumping on for the last 10 or 15 years because he don't understand rollback netcode? Those Cannon Brothers?
And they were like, "You can see nothing, man. We're over here busy running the tournament or whatever." And then, so he knew from that, and then after that, that was it.
Yeah.
And in that area.
So that, hold on, real quick. Let me stop.
Go ahead.
That still funny. That was still kind of a, hey, this is kind of, we're bros chilling kind of a joke there, or was it like clearly animosity was there?
No, that was like, hey, fucking, you know, let me just be a fucking dick. He's over here. I got my fucking shield. This is Sparta. Boom, and just fucking, you know, fucking shoulder charge him. You know what I mean? Just to let him know, you know, like,
okay, business time.
We're here to fuck you up. We're serious, man. So he knew we were business. He started getting worried.
See, you could have done the same thing, but it would have been a lot more effective had you did that and he knew it was coming. I mean, that's my only gripe with this, man. If you got to confront a man, confront him face to face.
He started getting scared. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, my phone dropped.
Yeah.
And he knew we were for real. You know what I mean? So, let me see. So, you know, he's walking around carefully. We catch him outside when he goes outside, and he he leaves. He's going into, you know, those parking lots that go up and up and up, the
Yeah.
circular type of parking lots.
Yeah.
So, you know, he says that he was set up or whatever, or he was framed. He likes to say that, like
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
like Viscant is the one that said, "Hey, he's over here, you know, come fuck
Yeah,
him up." No,
yeah.
it wasn't like that. We were looking for him, and all he was doing was staying with Jay, and Jay was giving him a ride.
Actually, I would not be surprised at all if that guy was in on it, because the way these guys were moving, because he keeps saying we, meaning it was more than just him. They probably threatened him too and said, you better tell us where he is. Now, I'm not saying that he did it just to do it, like he just freely gave up information. I'm sure they applied pressure in some way, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he had something to do with it too.
Yep.
So, you know, we catch him, and he's going up the parking lot, and then, you know, we're starting to like come after him. And I hear this from Jay. Jay was telling me that, you know, Phil was like, "Hey man, Jaha and Watson are coming after us, dude. Do you want to run?" And this guy,
You see how you see how Phil automatically try to make his problem everybody else's problem. He does that today with the we didn't hit the goal. It's always this we us. Like, no, Phil, this is your problem. You were the one in those chat rooms on those forums running your damn mouth. And then when it comes to some face-to-face stuff and they actually hear now it's we, when did that happen?
and Viscant was like, "You can run. I'm not gonna run. That's your problem." So they're just walking fast up the parking lot, and then they stop. And you know, when I asked Mike about the story again, I said, "Yeah, I think they got tired or something. I don't know why the fuck he stopped, but what is it? They got to their car finally, so they stopped." And that's when we swarm on Phil. You know, and I'm fucking like, you know, fucking, what's up, man? Let's go, we're ready. Fuck this guy up, this and that. And then, you know, Phil's like bobbing and weaving, like there's nothing there. But he's like, dude, he's fucking scared, and
Phil was experiencing, I'm sure, some sensory overload. He could not believe that he was actually going to be held accountable, and his brain started to abort. And I'm sure in some cases it was trying to go back to factory settings. He was like, wow, this is really in front of me. Wow, real consequences. What do I do about this?
and you know, Watson was like, hey, why are you talking all that shit? You know, what the fuck? You know, just go, man. I'll fuck you up right now. And that's how, you know, he started breaking into the crying and like, dude, you know, I was drunk. I don't remember what I was saying. You know, so, you know, Mike is seeing this guy cry. So then he's at the point where like, all right, we're gonna call it off, you know. And he told Phil like, hey, you know, me, Jaha, anybody, dude, like we don't want to hear our names just ever come out of your mouth, ever, you know. And
now look at the grace that he was shown. They could have did whatever they wanted to him at that point in time. Whatever they wanted to do. They could have went in his pockets, turned him inside out, took his shoes off, threw him on top of the telephone pole. That's what we used to do back in the day, right? But they didn't do that. But did Phil take that and go about his life and say, man, I'm really appreciative that I didn't get what I deserved. So moving forward, let me make sure I conduct myself in a way that makes sense. No, it made him worse. And this is why consequences, pain, and shame are so vital to the human condition and or human development. This is how we grow. Pain and shame are powerful motivators, and we need them to be the best versions of ourselves.
And it worked for a good decade, man, because I'll be honest with you, you know, a couple years back, you know, I would like say something to Phil's chat while he's playing Street Fighter and whatever, and he'll just ignore it, like he doesn't see what I'm saying or anything. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's because I didn't tip, you know, because he only responds to people that tip and stuff like that. So I used the Amazon Prime sub. Oh, Jaha Base God became a subscriber or whatever.
Yeah.
No shout out, nothing. Like, did not say my name. It's silent. So, and it just and so he really did keep our names out of his mouth for quite a long time. It wasn't until that you know, when he did that down to whatever review of his old video down the rabbit hole, that he's actually like addressed us. You know what I mean? Like he's really kept us out of the name. But that's the lore on that.
That's the lore on that one, and that's the shield part. I think it's like that part's kind of lost to history. I'm glad that got out. I want to go through each step though, real quick, Jaha, if I could, just to make sure we get the facts straight, nothing taken out of context. You have said that there was no setup. Phil thought there was a setup. That Viscant story is too good. You want to run? You run, not me. That's awesome.
Oh man, yeah, that was great. I talked to Jay, and he was telling me some of the things that happened. Like, he's saying every time I like flinched, he was like ducking and weaving from punches that weren't even there. Is the way to describe it.
So,
but yeah,
he did say. So he did say, "Hey, I don't remember what I said. I was drunk." That is a true statement from Phil. Then he did say that. Okay.
Yes, and then after we let him go, and then we left, and they got in Jay's car, and they were driving home. Jay was telling me he was so fucking scared. Like, he was still like almost crying, and like he was asking like, "Does Watson know where you live? Like, what if he comes over tonight?" Like, it was still like
Now you see how much he was trying to avoid physical confrontation. That shows you that that's exactly what he needed. This would have been the stopgap to rectify a lot of what his mother and father should have done. This was another opportunity, that another way that the universe was aligning things, and it just didn't work out. Now, I'm not saying that they should have beat the shit out of Phil and stumped him out and went in his pockets and all that. I'm not saying they should have went that far. But I do think it would have done him some good had they had an actual confrontation, because I remember coming up, my older cousins used to slap shit out of me. My grandmother raised me, so my older cousins would come through. "Oh, you talking crazy to your granny?" They go to my body, hit me all up in my chest, and I remember the pain and the helplessness that I felt when that happened, and I hated them at the time. But as a grown man looking back on those moments, I understand why they did it, and I'm better for it.
I mean, dude, when you have somebody scared to the bone, dude, that's like where we had him down to. But I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, and also he said he admitted to Mike then he was an alcoholic. Did you have that is a true statement as well, right?
Yes, he was saying he was drunk, he didn't know what he says, or he didn't remember it. Just
that was Phil trying to retcon and absolve himself of any accountability, and at the same time trying to pull sympathy out of you. And it seems to have worked. And that might be part of the reason why that's the play that he uses on repeat now, day in and day out. Because when he was at his lowest and he thought something actually was going to happen to him, he used it and he got out of it. So why wouldn't it work in other scenarios?
I mean, really just trying to get out. What else can you say to get out of that,
Yeah, here's the key point, because this is the part that is kind of new information from Phil that I want to check on. Phil claims he put his arms behind his back and said, "Hit me if you want to. If that will make you feel better, hit me. Go ahead." Did that happen or not happen?
Gosh, I don't remember that, because if he asked me to hit him, dude, I would fucking hit him, bro. Like, I mean, it's not like I don't know if I remember that, like him being that brave about it. I gotta ask Watson and Jay about that. Sorry.
I don't think I believe that Phil did that at all. I think Phil told that story so he can make himself a martyr. These guys were bullying me. They outnumbered me and all this other madness. And I was willing to, quote unquote, die on my sword if necessary. But, I didn't want to do anything physical, because Phil's going to try to take the moral high ground in the situation, even though he's the one that created the framework for the situation to begin with.
Sorry, guys, that my memory's fuzzy on this one. I had to recall. I forgot I did the whole charging star with the 300 shield and all that stuff. I had to recall some of the stuff and hear from the other side. But no, I can't really confirm that. But
okay,
I doubt it, man.
Brave,
if he put his hands behind and asked me to hit him, dude, I really would. Like, I would not like.
Wait, yeah.
I wanted it to happen, man. I was a rabid dog back then, man. I was just. I was ready to go. So I was a different person back then. That's why it was hard for me to remember.
Yeah. Did he did he say, real quick, Meerkat, it's a good question. Did he say he was drunk, or did he say I'm an alcoholic at that time? I want to get the distinction. I mean, it's a tough ask.
He said he was drunk when he was talking shit.
Okay, there was no I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah, no. But he said he was drunk and he doesn't recall or know what he was saying.
What a convenient way of framing things. I have absolutely no recollection of this at all. Every single time, even though I was talking shit to you continuously over and over again, but every single time I did it, I was completely drunk out of my mind. Therefore, I don't know what happened. Therefore, I can't really be held accountable for what happened. You get it, right? I mean, listen to how cowardice that is. Straight up. I mean, there's no other word that you can find to describe that. If you go and run your mouth, at a minimum, you should be prepared to defend yourself, because like I said before, everybody not playing with you.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and he was crying.
Final point. He did say the next day he did take care of Mike Watson at this tournament. Was this the tournament that was the Neo Geo conversion, or is this a different tournament?
This was that game version of the Neo Geo version, and I think he did beat Mike, and I think they did. And then it was the next main Evo tournament. That was the one where he got fourth. So, you know, yeah, with this version of the game, he was really going on a run because he found some broke shit that worked, and so that is true. Yeah.
That's probably because when he went to these conventions or these gatherings where people were congregating around these games, he didn't have any real friends. So all Phil had time for was to lab the damn game. Because at that point, you go into the convention and not the convention, but the tournament, you know what I'm trying to say. They going out there, they linking up with people they haven't seen in a while, you know, things like that. They going out to eat, having a couple brews. Phil's in a hotel room somewhere just labbing Street Fighter all night.
We know that story of how Phil did get fourth, but that's only because the real big players didn't give a shit about that version, blah, blah, blah. We know that for sure. I would get back to Sam, any questions, follow-up questions there? Make sure that story got out perfectly there.
No, I mean, you know, everyone's talking about the alcoholic versus drunk thing. And I think in my opinion, I think I'd probably side with everyone here that, you know, that was a retcon. You know, he's happy to say he was an alcoholic. You don't just stop being an alcoholic, you know. So, so I think there's some bullshit being talked there for sure.
That's a good point. You never quite stop being an alcoholic because it's something that you're always struggling with. And if you've ever been around somebody who has dealt with that, you know that that's a very real thing. But Phil would like to act as if he's conquered those demons and, you know, they in no way influence the things that he does now. But every chance he get on stream, what is he doing? Slamming alcohol down his throat. So he can't convince me, and I'm sure anyone else, that now he has a complete control over it and he only drinks just a certain amount and he never goes overboard. I don't believe that at all.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's the same old Phil from you know, that's over 12 years ago. That was, you know, and it's the same old Phil where there's no accountability, makes an excuse for talking shit, and when it was time to pay the piper, you know,
I don't care how
to wiggle out of.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't give a shit how low he has to stoop to get himself out of it. You know, if he has to cry and say he's an alcoholic, he'll do it. You know. So, but
Bunky, I want to ask you because I listed a lot of your shows, and Phil was a very frequent caller, right? Even after you guys did the little feud, he'd be calling all the time, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing about it though is that it's almost as if he had short-term memory loss. You know, so he forgot that, you know, hey, I threatened to cut your balls off and ram it down your throat. But let's continue on like nothing ever happened.
Well,
that's what we like to call selective amnesia. And for people who are trying to avoid accountability for whatever reason, it feels as if that particular group is always afflicted with that ailment. And it's always convenient.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what he did. He hung up the phone, you know. And, you know, and at that point I realized that this is a guy that's really the definition of all barred by no bite. And so, you know, so at from that time period onward, I didn't take him seriously, you know. And I just know that he's just a big blowhard. I mean, he was just talking a whole lot. And again, I go back to what I said originally. In a weird sort of way, I kind of feel sorry for the dude because I really do think that this dude needs help. I don't say that disparaging. I really do think this dude needs help.
I agree. Phil does need help. But the problem with that is he's alienated everybody in his life that could potentially tell him what he needs to do to change his life. Every time somebody tells him the truth, he lashes out, he bans people, right? I can only imagine how the conversations have gone with his parents and the level of disrespect that he's shown them, because he's shown he doesn't have a lot of respect for his parents on stream, just the way he references his mother and the way he speaks to her, even when she's trying to assist him. So there's no planet or no timeline where Phil is ever going to look at himself and say, you know what? I need to stop this. And I'm sure there are times where that is in the back of his mind and saying, man, what am I doing, man? Because every day is Groundhog Day. But and every day is a chance for him to start anew. But he'll never do it because he's a creature of habit. And all he is worried about is what makes him feel good. Like I said before, he's a desire-driven person, and oftentimes desire-driven people peak early. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Urban style content. I'm dead.